It all depends on how much damage you have to your home. Sometimes cosmetic, yes, because half of your home is sinking in one direction.
Okay. Okay. All right.
If you do your job right, like him and I do, the money that you're paying us is actually worth more on your house and on your project than what it is sitting in another account.
Those cracks upstairs typically start to paint that picture of what's going on with the home.
Unintended.
Exactly. Call Phil.
We aren't just a video production company. We are business solution driven creatives. And this is More Than Meets the Eye.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the More Than Meets the Eye podcast, where we talk about what's behind a person, a practice, or a product, especially when it comes to marketing. I'm Jared Taylor, and I've got my coffee. Actually, it's water this time. I got to drink a lot more water. I want to welcome you to JT Visuals. That's without the eye, because there's more than meets the eye. Today, we're looking at what's behind a person and some practice within that. We have two very special guests with us today. We got Phil Linstrom. Phil, tell us about yourself.
Phil Linstrom, owner, Linstrom Pro Painters, established in 2008. We specialize in wood rot restoration, paint stains, enamels, faux finishes, and some artistic paintings.
Awesome. And we got Matthew Menge.
Yes, my name is Matthew Menge. I'm with Foundation Recovery Systems. We've been in the area since 1992. I'm a certified field inspector, and so we're a specialty contractor. We focus on foundation repair, crawl space repair, waterproofing of basements, and then concrete lifting as well.
So if you're into trades and home services, then this one is definitely it for you. But even if you're not, we got looking at a little bit of the personal side of what's behind you guys. And what gets you going. So you got an answer to that, Phil? What is it that gets you up? Why do you do what you do?
Hey, sorry to interrupt, but Joe, you got something on your chest.
When I failed my first aid business, I chalked it up to a couple of things. Number one, I was very proud and I didn't learn how to build a business. But the second thing I realized is I didn't go to school for this.
And it's fun to try to figure things out and explore. But then there comes a point where you're like, wait, hold on. What are all the other successful business owners doing?
We've provided something for you if you feel the same exact way. We've provided Skool, Skool, entrepreneur experience, where you can actually have free content and a community of people that are also in there that are entrepreneurs that love to give feedback and ask for feedback. If you don't feel like you have the resources enough to help you become successful, join our Skool.
It starts for free. So what are you waiting for? Go to jtvisuals.com/Skool. That's JT Visuals without the I, and that's Skool with a K.
Now back to the show.
What is it that gets you up? Why do you do what you do?
The first time when I painted a wall, I really put my heart into it, and I recognized I was better at it than most, and that was kind of my calling. And ever since then, every day since then, when I have painted, I've wanted to do it better than that. That's kind of my challenge.
Yeah.
So I recognize it at a very young age. When I was doing that, I started painting when I was 20. What the industry standards were then, and I was rather disappointed. And I have to kind of admit that the paint trade has come a long way in a lot of different ways in 26 years. So
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And what about you, Matthew? How did you get into this?
No, it wasn't anything like that. I didn't have an epiphany painting a wall. Phil's much better at that than me. He's even got paint on his hands right now as we sit here filming this. No, I get the privilege of actually leading a jail ministry, and I go into the county jail every week. And so I kind of get to go in and help those that are hurting, fix their foundation. And so kind of on the cross-section of that, I was in the position with my dad. We were selling a company, and I was looking for something new to do. It aligned with my calling, just like Phil, to be able to go into homes and actually see those people that are kind of stressed out about their foundation, and I get to help them fix that position of their house in a different way from a caring spot. And, it's not that I sought this profession out. It just aligned with the calling that I was already living out.
Which that reminds me, like all of us now are living out our calling through our profession, which is really cool. But what about those that don't know? Like, can you go back to your side of your story when you started to realize,
man, I was meant for this because of XYZ?
Yeah, whenever I talk to the youth, like you have people in your family or your children you're raising, and there's all this pressure on, going to college, where's the money at? How are you going to take care of yourself?
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people get derailed and distracted of the beauty in life and just like falling in love with what you do. So I'll tell them, if you fall in love with something, it doesn't matter like how simple it is. It could be like making pencils. It could be drawing pictures. It could be making mugs. It could be learning how to talk to people and stuff like that, doing videos and traveling the globe. Well, whatever it is, if you fall in love with that and that is your thing, you'll be great at it. And
so you got to try it, and then you learn.
Eventually, you'll make money doing it because I mean the industry's there to take care of you if you make that great, no matter how simple it is.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Excellent. Yeah.
You got any more? Was it kind of the same for you, or?
Yeah, exactly. I have children, and I want them to experience a lot of things rather than just focus on one thing that they say they like. Ultimately, they may like one thing, but an aspect of that activity may broaden their horizons to something else. As a kid, I was involved in a lot of construction, and so I can speak that to homeowners, but ultimately, it's the almost care and compassion behind to help those homeowners with the anxiety and just putting facts behind that to calm their emotions is the other side that some other people are looking for in an inspector when they're really dealing with large potential financial consequences in a project.
Right. That's cool. You're like it's more than just a home service.
Yeah,
it's actually like a home solution. We have a core value at JT Visuals where we say solutions over services because we're not here to just hit record.
Yeah.
We want to actually make sure you're doing all the things to get the best results, and we're solution-driven creatives here to help the business because if we don't fit into the piece of the puzzle, even though we could take their money and record, we have a really hard time accepting that.
Yeah.
So we try to qualify to make sure this can actually work for people. And that's what I'm hearing from you guys too, is that in your home service, what you do with the painting and the foundation, you're helping people. You're not there just to do a craft or a task, right?
Yeah. So in my industry, you have the paint providers, you have the unions, and then you have the other company owners, kind of like myself. And that's what controls the environment of the finances. And I recognized right away when I was younger that my philosophies behind the standards of what we were doing was going to change the industry a little bit. And it was probably going to cost me a little bit more labor, a little bit more materials because I want to do things so great, Right. But I've always thought, like, how do I help this homeowner, this client, make the best, most educated decision that they can, even in some situations, circumstances, it might not have even been me. And that's a very difficult thing to do. Say, hey, look, this project's doesn't align completely with what we do, what we're great at. This might be better for somebody else.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm always trying to do things great. And sometimes clients aren't always looking for that either, especially when we have an area like Kansas City where a lot of homes are getting flipped all the time. And a lot of it's just kind of like, hey, we're just trying to sell it type, type style or philosophy. So
I know that I'll definitely tell homeowners that they may not like what I'm telling them, and they may want to kick me out of their home because of what I'm telling them, but I'm going to tell them the facts rather than just an opinion about their home. Because ultimately, you don't want to base a repair off an opinion of mine. You'd rather have facts behind what's actually taking place in the home, and that's how we can actually build up a project to fix your home for a long term.
Yeah. Wow, that's incredible. So you both found what you enjoy doing, and then you found a little bit of a deeper desire, meaning like it's about you, but it's not about you.
Right.
So when you figure out what you love and what you do, the next step is usually figure out how that can help other people and not just help them, but also it's something they need And sometimes you got to do what you want to get to what they need,
Right.
or what they want to get to what they need. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
But-
there's definitely a compromise there.
Yeah.
Because every home or every project I show up to, I'm like, I want to make this like a polished diamond. You come and sats, you like, please, people have financed. And, a lot of times we do get that, right? But, but you still, sometimes you do have to cut some corners and you have to make a compromise. Like, okay, their finances equal this, which is still a great project. But
I think of like hair salon people for some reason, and that like all the girls want to like dye their hair, but they have like extremely dark hair and they want to make it blonde or something. So while there are methods, it's like, how damaging do you want this to be? Like, is it really about looks at this point? Or like, so then you got to navigate that, how good do you want to look versus how good you actually are.
Yeah.
And I feel like, well, really yours. Because painting, dude, this would be a good segue for painting, because I've been learning this, is that painting is more than just cosmetic.
Oh yeah, it's very functional. Well, in interior, it's functional where the light you want to bounce off walls correctly, and touching surfaces they get used more often. You got to pay attention to those. But on exteriors, it's all about longevity with the caulking and making sure things are adhesed right, and the right thickness of applications, and and making sure the water's running off the way it's supposed to, and where's that going to happen around gutters and downspouts and stuff. So it's definitely different. Interior to exterior, it's a completely different philosophy. Yeah, and that could be a problem because we could be painting an exterior for a person who's relatively picky about textures, and they'll almost want a level 4 or 5 finish, on the texture on the exterior of their house. Now, it's very difficult to do because then you're leaving behind less material, because you're trying to apply less to make it look better. Does that make sense?
Yep.
But then you run into, sealing problems and longevity problems.
Yeah.
So you have to really educate them. Like, okay, what's going to be your philosophy here? Because this might not last 5 or 6 years if we're micro-coating these areas to make them look good versus, hey, we're doing something to, encapsulize everything that's in here and keep the water and rain out.
That's what someone was showing me the other day when I was filming an exterior of the house, and then they're like, see, paint has more than just the cosmetic on the exterior. It's to help keep things sealed so that water doesn't enter and all that. So now we're getting into the overlap of inspections and water control, water damage. So you both really overlap there so much. But what about cosmetic? Is there anything cosmetic with your role, or is it all just function?
It all depends on how much damage you have to your home. Sometimes cosmetic, yes, because half of your home is sinking in one direction.
Okay. Okay. All right.
But ultimately, I walk
that's
into
a
a
problem.
home and I tell homeowners I'm not coming in to bring them a cool red Corvette or a hot tub, and so I'm not that type of inspector or have that type of product for them. But ultimately, just like Phil was talking about, some homeowners are extremely detailed about the cracks in their walls, and they never want them to return. And so we have solutions to where that can take place. But ultimately, other times, homeowners just want to fix the problem at hand. They don't care about anything that may take place in the future in another spot of their home. So it goes back to the education. Am I actually telling the homeowner exactly what's going to fix their problem now, but also what I see based off of my experience that will take place in the future? And it could be based off of the watershed off the home, the gutters and the downspouts, possibly even the grading that's taking place in small amounts right now that will lead to something in the future later.
Yeah. Man, so when you were talking about there could be a house that's completely sideways, and that's an eyesore, but it's an eyesore because we see the danger of that, right? So I'm wondering, what about what's some of the worst situations that you can share that you've walked into?
This was maybe a month ago, and I was in a home in Kansas City. And I typically walk into the home and I sit down and ask some questions in the living room just about the history of the home. So that better leads me in my inspection. Because if we're going to lift a home and you just install new windows, I don't want to lift the house because I'm going to bust all your windows. Oh. But I was sitting here with this homeowner in the living room, and he starts talking about the wall just leaning in a little bit, and he thinks it's just cosmetic. And the more he talks about it, I just stopped my questioning and I said, why don't we just go take a look at this wall? So this wall was actually directly under us in the living room, and the entire wall had collapsed in. We got downstairs and he said, it's cosmetic, right? I said, no, all of your blocks are on the floor and you have dirt and water in your basement right here.
Cosmetic and more.
Yes, exactly. He said, well, the city water guy, they had a water main break and they came in and shut the water off downstairs, and he said there was a problem, but he said it's mainly cosmetic. This is cosmetic, right? I said, no. This is past what?
This is more than that.
Yes. This needs to be dug out
Was this
and
man
rebuilt.
in danger or something? Was he
Yes,
in
I
danger
told-
of the floor that you were on? Like,
I told him not to sit on that couch anymore.
Oh my gosh. Don't even sit on the couch.
Yeah. Another one I was in just last week was in a home that was actually a rental. The person had passed away, so they were getting ready to change tenants. And they were I was doing an inspection so we can get some things taken care of before they actually re-rent it. And in the basement, one of the walls was actually leaning in 5.5 inches. Well, if you think about a concrete wall, it's 8 inches wide. The center of gravity is at 4 inches. So after it's at 4 inches, it's very probable that it's going to fall in. So it was 5.5 inches. So I told the owner who was going to be renting this back out, do not rent this back out. Even if you don't do work with us, get this wall pulled back and fixed, repaired correctly, so it does not fall and collapse when somebody's actually here. If somebody has their child downstairs and it collapses,
Oh my goodness.
that's horrible.
Yeah. You have a very important job.
yeah. Oh man.
Yeah.
Dang. Okay, Phil. All right, moving it over.
So I had a client a couple of years ago. I think it was like 2024. They live right here in Lee Summit, and they had an issue during the drought where their basement floor had cracked, and I mean there's like a 2-inch gap in their basement floor that ran through their whole house. And when you went upstairs, you could see that even the walls were shifted and there's cracks in the walls everywhere. It was one of the wildest things I've ever seen. Yeah. But that's probably nothing compared to some of the stuff. Yeah, I thought that was bad. I mean, not only was the floor cracked like this, I mean, one side of it was like up higher than the other. So, yeah, it was pretty
Have
wild.
you ever Okay, actually going back now I'm like, have you ever walked up to a house and you just went, nope, and turn around, or like felt like, man, am
Not
I
accepting
gonna
that
die?
challenge.
Am I gonna die? Or like, there's a movie I saw, I forgot what it's called, but there's something actually living down in the sub basement, and it's actually a big chamber of
that's more
dark stuff, and then like
It's more
the
what we
things
joke
like,
about.
Mama, the whole time. If someone knows that movie, then put it in the comments.
Comment below.
Have you like seen any like weird like?
So I've gone into a lot of homes. Typically, they're the older ones where homeowners have been there for 40 to 50 years. It's not necessarily that the home is bad if it was empty, but people accumulate a lot of stuff. And so it becomes full of I was in a basement and they hadn't been down there for a long time. There was a dead raccoon in a live cage that was trapped
In a cage.
They knew they had troubles because the wall was leaning in, and so animals could get up over the wall, over the sill plate, and they had someone put traps down there, but it cost money for them to come back and take the animals out of there, so they left them.
Oh my goodness!
And so you definitely
What's that
find
smell?
some interesting thing. Yeah, unfortunately it was a situation of smell.
Oh man!
Oh man!
Yeah, but it's not typically a situation where it's like, oh, we can't fix this, I want to leave. It's interesting when you start to have foundation added on foundation added on foundation. You have an old stone slab or stone walls, and then somebody builds maybe a crawl space out of block, and then there's a concrete slab on the side of that, and you have everything playing together, and ultimately they're all shifting and settling at different rates, and it unfortunately a lot of times the cost to fix it is more than the home's value. And so it's breaking it to the homeowner of, we can fix this, but ultimately, do you want to fix this? How long are you going to be living here? Is it even wise to do this? I was at a home recently, and it was a guy who was 87 years old. Fantastic place close by here. And he said that after I sell this, the buyers are going to separate my home from my 2 shops. They're going to tear my shops down and then sell them for home builds. And we were in his shop looking at lifting concrete, and he was 87 years old. And I said, maybe it's not wise to lift this concrete if you're not out here that often, and this is going to get torn down if you decide to sell next year.
Yeah. Man. All right, Phil, can you top that?
Well, I got a little bit of a feel-good story. I'll make it short. But a couple of years ago, we had a family that had some squirrels that had
Squirrels
nested
or
up.
squirrels?
Squirrels.
Okay.
Squirrels.
Oh, I thought you said scrolls, like you found the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Oh, yeah.
You found some more transcripts of the Bible, manuscripts. That'd be cool.
Yeah, so some squirrels. Okay, squirrels were in the soffit, and we had to do a repair there because there's a large hole. So, yeah, I extracted the piece, and she made her way out. Well, we know it was she, okay? Because after I made the repair, we found out that she had nested in there.
Babies.
And the babies were stuck in the soffit. And I didn't find out until like 4 days later. Okay, so look, for 4 days, I'm painting around this house. And this mama squirrel is like in my ear constantly, like 10 feet away. Yeah.
Feed my babies.
I have videos of this. I can find it. I need to post it. That's
Okay.
That's freaking wild. Yeah, so for like 3 or 4 days, she's like crying to me. And I'm like, what is your freaking problem? And fair enough, the client, one morning she's like, yeah, we think we still hear something in there. So I went and I paid attention to that spot. And sure enough, right there where I'd fixed it, all the babies made themselves to that corner. And when I was in that area, Mom was like, yes, that's it. She was like celebrating, running around in circles.
Really?
Yes, it was the wildest thing ever. So I opened up the soffit and, gave her some space. And one by one, she went in there. She grabbed each one of them.
Oh, my
She
God.
carried them up a tree. She carried them out. Yeah.
Hashtag
Freaking-
Phil saves squirrels.
Wow.
It was pretty
Okay.
wild.
right?
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
Well,
So
that
there's
sounds
your
like
spot.
a condition there
Yeah.
and a good
Anyway.
story.
Yeah.
Good
That's
job.
cool as your
Yeah.
Phil,
dead Karen
but
kid.
Phil, savior of squirrels.
Yeah.
Savior of
protector
the protector
of squirrels in
of
your
squirrels. Yeah. In your industry and in what you see, what are the most common misconceptions about?
Oh, God, I got that one. I got this nailed. Why do you brush and roll? Why do you spray? What's better, brushing and rolling and spraying? And that's
Is it a big depends answer?
It's a big depends, yeah, because every exterior surface is different depending on what kind of siding you have, whether it's stucco, whether it's rough cedar. We even do bricks and rocks and stones and stuff. And there's a reason that there are so many tools that apply paint. So there's not just one answer for everything in every scenario and every situation.
What's one specific one?
Okay, well, if you want a surface really smooth, like a car, okay, and you want to put as much paint on as possible, you use the airless because under low pressure, you can keep applying to the maximum point where that paint hangs onto itself and it won't sag. Okay, on a smooth surface, when you're using a tool like a brush or a roller pad, and you go to apply on a smooth surface, those bristles are going through the paint down to the surface you're trying to apply to, and it leaves behind a less amount of an application of paint. If it's a rough surface, it's the other way around because the bristles and the roller pads
Can fit
will
in
push and maneuver the paint down into those little pits, those crevices, and you're able to apply more paint that way. And airless, under low pressure, won't be able to move the paint into all those little tiny orifices and those cracks.
Okay.
Because it's hard to get it from every direction. It just sits there and it bags on.
And is
sags.
airless like a type of spray?
It's a hydraulic pump that runs through a hydraulic line that runs through a stainless steel tip. And we have different size tips and orifices and pressures that we run for each material.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's that. I get in some areas and people become really opinionated on, hey, I want my house brushed and rolled, and I'll be like that. Whoever's been telling you that, that's like for your application, that's totally normal. So I'm educating people all the time on where and what to use, what situation.
Do you ever do like a power washing or anything like that?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Is that part of your scope of work, or is it just something you have to do to paint?
Exteriors, driveways, garage floors, they all get power washed.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
You do like epoxy in the garages and all that?
Yeah, we do some of that stuff too with the flake. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Oh, cool.
It's, believe it or not, it's really time consuming, but it's
Really?
one of the easiest things that we actually do because it's on the freaking ground.
Yeah.
So,
True.
these companies, I think, I'm going to blurt, I think they're seriously overcharging for a lot of these epoxy garage floors.
So they're overcharging.
Yeah.
But people are buying, right?
Yes. Yes.
So then are they overcharging if people are buying? But what would be your message? Like, hey, we can do it for less, or like
my message
you
would
shouldn't-
be maybe get with one of the suppliers and talk to them about what they think it should cost. The
Okay.
supplier of the material that they're wanting to apply.
What if they don't know that? Because most people just
Yeah,
call and they
that's-
want someone to deal with all that, right?
Yeah, you're right.
Or just call Phil, get it half price. Half price, Phil.
That's about exactly where we are right now.
Is that really like so?
Yes.
They're about 50% over.
Yeah, it's $20,000-$30,000 garage floors, and I'm doing them for half of that. For
Well,
the
why don't
same
you
amount
just
of
join
space.
them?
I can't, because that's not my philosophy. It's just to make money. It's to take care of people, and if I'm making enough, what my
Yeah.
business needs to bring in, and it's easier on my guys. We're not
Yeah.
climbing like 40, 50, 60 feet up in the air, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's
right.
just like I don't have a problem with that.
And you're
You know,
one of those
like-
guys that feels like you scored. Like
Yeah, I save them.
it's not exactly like diamond in the rough of like
Right.
Aladdin, but it does feel like the needle of the haystack in a good way. Like, but that's what you seem like, is like that kind of person that like, man, there are good people who truly just care about results.
Oh yeah,
And they're not there to nickel and dime you. They're there to produce good artistic work and make sure that you're satisfied and
Yeah,
that it
yeah.
solved your real problem. Like maybe you want a wall like this, but also if he's talking about something else, because I've worked with you, and you'll be like, well, actually, what about this? Because then this, and you leave it open. What I would do is suggest this, and like you give your true expertise in a way of care, not in a way of like gaining it some sale and gotcha.
I appreciate
And
that recognition,
Yeah,
Jared.
you're really
Thank
good
you.
at that.
Yeah, my heart really is just this big, for treating people right. We're not here to gouge anybody. I do all my estimates the same. If it takes this many days, this is what it costs for my company to be with you in your project for a day. Plus the cost of materials. If the risk is ridiculously high and we need all this special protective equipment, okay, that does apply. Okay, we get it. I mean, if the risk is astronomical, anybody's well-being and the VOCs, you know what I mean? There's
you
a
make
cost for
that
that
transparent.
too. Right, exactly, 100%. So, and I do that for every estimate. It doesn't change because like we go to, the floor epoxy industry and I recognize that, hey, I could charge double for this. I just don't believe in that. It's my company does what it does, and we get paid, regardless of what we're doing.
You're really increasing the value of Kansas City homes.
Oh,
Like seriously, we
This guy
filmed
too.
We
Like-
filmed some things, guys. So like, all right, I'm screwing myself in the future, but I got to set up a system to do this. So when you see this on a social media clip, comment the word paint. And I will DM you a link to one of the most colorful houses in Kansas City that you guys have really been a part of.
Oh, Harris Park, yeah.
Yeah, and it's phenomenal. It's become real well known. And I went out and I filmed them and they talked a little more about it.
Yeah, so we have a home in Harris Park owned by Mike and Kristen Marshall. I deem it to be probably the most decorated home in all Kansas City.
It's a style.
It is a style.
style.
The home I think is like I think it's all of like 15 colors, something like that, with these magnificent florals that go around all four sides of it. Yeah, I think we're at that home for almost 6 months. Yeah, Fox 4 almost covered it. They're getting ready to make their way over there, and I think do some film footage. And I didn't make it over there that day, so
Oh no!
yeah, I know.
What a good opportunity,
sorry.
man.
Yeah. We're sending emails. And you get one chance at that.
Yeah.
I think I screwed that up.
And Paul Helmer was with us,
yeah,
and he's very particular in the colors and stuff. And he actually was someone that noticed in cameras the color science is different than what you see with your naked eye. It's very different. But I usually go in and I correct that, and I got it to a point where I mute usually reds, like they almost become pink, if you will, for in the camera. So I've dove into what they call a colorist, where you're really tweaking just those very, very specific things. And I had it to a decent working spot that's more cinematic, but cinematic doesn't mean it represents the colors well. And he actually saw that. And then he came in, and what's funny is, I don't know if he remembers this, but he came in and looked on the computer, and I worked on it with him. And he's like, at the end, we got done. He's like, you are an artist. Because he was almost dissing on, like, we're not a true artist when we do this stuff. But then later, I won him over by just showing him that I can actually see the detail of color and all that. And I thought that was just so funny. Anyways, that's an amazing thing, guys. So let us know in the comments, YouTube or wherever you are, wherever you're listening. Just put in the word paint, and then we'll send you that video.
Yeah, so you're talking about Paul Helmer, and you're probably going to meet him pretty soon. I bring him to B&I once in a while. So Paul Helmer, Touch of Distinction, is my business partner when it comes to our more artistic projects. And if you want to just go ahead and look up Touch of Distinction, talk about an awesome historical company.
It's like, what Catholic church have you not painted?
We've done quite a few. Yeah.
Yep. Dude, it is phenomenal.
Thanks.
To toot your horn, you know. Okay, we were on misconceptions. Matthew.
Yeah.
Misconceptions.
What do you have that are common misconceptions when someone's, I don't know, maybe setting up an inspection, or what other inspectors get wrong?
Oh, yeah.
Usually.
Okay, well, one thing that we talked about flipping houses earlier, and so there's a lot of flipped houses in Kansas City, and we assume that if you're buying a flipped house and it had a home inspection done on it previously, the homeowner kind of thinks that the foundation is good and there's nothing to worry about. And so they're kind of interested or curious why their doors are now sticking 6 months into their new home and these new cracks are appearing. Well, because unfortunately, a lot of times when homes are flipped or when basements are freshly finished prior to you buying the home, a lot of times they're covering up work that they don't want to tell you about before actually buying the home. So a misconception could be that homes move. Homeowners know that homes are always moving. Also, sometimes that if you peer or stop a section of your home from moving, it doesn't mean the other section of your home isn't going to move at some point. So I always kind of joke with homeowners that your home should have been peered all the way around when it was built. It was not, because it was too much money. And the person building that home doesn't want to add another $60,000 to $100,000 to the sale of the home, because after they get their money from selling the home, they're not there 30 years later when the home starts to settle. We're typically going in a home 25 to 30 years after it's been built.
It's like, that's your problem to deal with.
Exactly.
After we pass this transaction.
And so when you're buying a home, kind of think about the age. Has it had previous foundation work done, or is it in that 25 to 30 year age range? Is it going to start moving? It's nice. I walk through homes and inspect them with a bright flashlight. Nothing fancy, but a lot of times I'll have a wife or a husband with me, and we'll be seeing in their new home above doors there were cracks, but the flashlight just shows that they were patched. Okay. Phil may be able to do it to where I can't tell that they're patched, but other people just spackling above the door and then putting new paint up, you can tell that that's a red flag. That's something's been taking, that's been moving. And so once we come in and do our measurements in the basement to actually see where the home's settling at, those cracks upstairs typically start to paint that picture of what's going on with the home.
Unintended.
Exactly. Call Phil.
There we go. We'll just wingman everyone else.
Yes, exactly.
Call Phil.
Yeah, call Phil. Okay. So, but ultimately, unfortunately, if your home's not built on bedrock, it's going to be moving around. You want to stabilize it to bedrock so it's not moving around.
Now, I was just picturing Minecraft. I just got to interrupt a little.
Yeah, sure.
My kids are so into that.
Lava chicken.
Yeah, lava. Do you know that?
No.
Your kids are too old.
His kids are too old. Mine are the right age.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, this is 25.
Chicken. Yeah. They actually tried to make real lava chicken. They experimented with it. And it was nearly impossible, whatever they could try, because it would just
My
overcook the
11-year-old said it was impossible. I thought it could be possible.
Yeah, well, I mean, you should watch it, and then maybe if you're an engineer, try and do it differently than them.
Sure.
You have to make major investments in your home if needed, right? $100,000 on some of these homes. I mean, if you've been in a home for 20-something years in Kansas City, if you go and you look at a graph at what our homes were worth back then in comparison to now, I mean,
the values.
The values in Kansas City have really gone up. I mean, even during COVID, with all the things that have happened.
As long as you're taking care of them, they're going up.
Right. So, I mean, is that a way for you to convey value to your clients and say, hey, this is worth this now? It might not have been X amount of years ago, but now you're vested here, and I mean, they bought their property for $200,000 or $300,000, and now these homes are $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 now in certain parts of the city. So you're, from that standpoint, it's just like it's a no-brainer now to make a responsible investment in your house, whether it's that or whether it's painting or
and then we hear that it's like a good value, but how do you actually know? This is a true question. Like, how do you actually know something is a true value? What do we look at?
Well, most homeowners, at least in our industry, will get 3 bids. And so a lot of times, and potentially in the paint field as well, 3 bids is just kind of what you're grown up taught to do. And so when you're talking about a company, value can be in many different forms. Maybe it's just price. Maybe it's the way a project's done. Maybe it's how you feel during the project being done, or maybe it's the lasting results afterwards. But I know we have lifetime warranties on a lot of our repairs. I always kind of joke with a homeowner that a lifetime warranty doesn't mean anything if I go out of business next year. And so you also need that value of long-term company history to be able to back that up. And so if that company cannot back that up and they're selling you a project for $100,000 and it goes bad in 2 years, who's there to come back out to actually look at it? We try to be proactive rather than reactive. So we're actually going back out to each of our projects for the first 5 years on the anniversary. So every year for the first 5 years, we're going back out to look at that project to verify that there's no movement.
Okay.
Wow. Exactly.
So there's a brand promise there, really.
Exactly. And so we can also go out to a home and notice that maybe a corner of your home is settling right now, and you want to go ahead and tackle that. It may be settling a couple inches. We go ahead and fix that right now, but also your garage is starting to settle as well, and you know that, well, I don't really want to invest everything right now. So next year, our service techs come out, and they're able to take a look at our measurements a year previous and to see if there's been any changes in that. You may have been in your home 5 or 6 years and not have seen any change, or typically homeowners don't walk around with a flashlight like I do. Exactly.
Or go into crawl spaces.
Exactly. They're just noticing if a door is sticking or the garage door, something's off on that. It cracks in the floor, big stuff. But the little hairline stuff, they're not putting all of that together. And so it's nice to build a relationship with a company that's not just there to take your money and then say, peace out. Thanks for the money.
Yeah, all right, I did the inspection, that's it.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's cool. Do you have some sort of like brand promise to help with value or anything? Or
I've had only one warranty claim in 26 years, and I'm going to take that on. Go back and make a visit. 3 or 4 or 5 years later, take a look at the home. Our paints are back behind our suppliers. Sherwin-Williams gives a 25-year guarantee against any kind of paint peeling, chipping, or cracking.
So that's where you can provide certainty.
And then also, a lifetime warranty on some of their paints for as long as you live in the home. That paint should never peel or crack. Fading's that's not a thing. That's a natural wear thing. The darker you go with your colors, the more fading you're going to get, especially on a south facing side of it. Your house. That was a great follow up, man. I don't know. Gosh, you really got me thinking. I hold you to higher regard now. This man's company will come back to your home 5 years later and make measurements like that. Just blows my mind.
Yeah,
what a great company you're a part of, man.
For another 1,000. No, I'm kidding. That's all. I think that's what we're living in these days, and especially now with AI.
Yeah,
like everything is just skeptical.
Yep.
Yeah,
so we need a lot more proof.
Yeah.
We need a lot more certainty. We need a lot more guarantee before we jump into things. And then then people are getting burned because Then AI learns that, and this other guy that just started, who you think they mean well, but actually they don't even really listen to you. They just jump the gun. Oh, you need this. All right, cool, got it. Give me the money, and then they go, and then it doesn't work out the way that they expected.
I dealt with that. Actually, Saturday, I had an inspection, and this was one of those homes built in 1953. It was an original crawl space, and then they built a basement next to it a few years later when they had money. Every time they got money, they'd buy a board, is what they said. But ultimately, they had another company come in a couple weeks before me to actually inspect it, and you got into the crawl space through an old window and from the basement, and the other company just stuck their head in and said, you need this, this, and this, and it was about a $10,000 repair.
Oh.
And the funny thing is, the homeowner thought $10,000 is pretty cheap for this job. And when he told me that story, I said, yeah, that seems pretty cheap. I'm getting in there. I have a nice crawl space suit to put on, flashlight on my head. I get in there with the laser to be able to measure the settlement and everything. And it was full of lint. It was a big fire hazard. I made him aware of that issue because the dryer was going right into the crawl space as well.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Yeah. Not a good thing. But his project ended up being $26,000 because I had accurate facts about what was taking place. So rather than spending $10,000 on something that was not going to work, unfortunately, by sticking your head through a window into a crawl space, he couldn't even see damage that had taken place.
And by the time they started the job at the $10,000, they would have gone in and upsold.
Exactly.
And that's the thing that a lot of consumers are not really fond of when it's used as a gotcha tactic, you know? That's what it feels like. So that's great to, like, as best you can, set up the expectations at the beginning. Give a thorough measurement. That's good.
Yeah, moving forward into the future, you know, if you own real estate, if your personal home, your house, residential, whatever, think of your property like a bank account. It really is, and it's like a body. You know, you want to give it preventative care and maintenance before things get worse.
Yep.
You know, you can get cancer, you know, by doing all the wrong things to yourself, right? And then you wind up in a hole. Your property is the same way. And if you live here in Kansas City, if you've had property for quite a while, there's plenty of value in that now to more than take care of your house. You know, moving forward, you know, 10, 15, 20, 30 years, you decide to sell this property, undergoing inspections is probably going to be a lot more thorough than what it is right now. I mean, with all the infrared cameras and moisture meters, you know, we've got drones, we've got all these ways. So really there's almost virtually no way that you can cheat anymore. You know, when people go and they buy property, they know exactly what they're getting. So don't hesitate, get educated, make an educated choice, you know, and take care of your stuff early before it's too late. Because literally your house is that body, your house is that bank account, and it is constantly being drained. It's bleeding if you're not taking care of it.
Yeah. So to circle around one more time around to the KC home value was you were mentioning some things of how Kansas City home value shot way up.
I was
and all
just
that.
looking at the graph this morning, you know, from way back in like, what was it, like 2017, 2018, 2019. And you could just look at it from there, and it just continues to keep going up. I remember some of my friends actually decided to sell their homes around COVID in the fear that they thought that property value was going to go down. And that was not the case.
No.
It actually continued to go up. And I've got a few of them now that they still don't own homes, and they're looking to buy property and houses now, and it's more difficult now than ever.
Yeah, it is.
You know, now they're talking about interest rates coming down just a little bit now, but I mean not much. What, maybe 1% or something like that?
What about those?
How many years?
So what about those that have a Kansas City home, but they could use a facelift, a good paint job, but they want to list their house? How much does that, like, as far as their investment, improve their sale? Do you know?
Well, it's just like this. Whenever you have an appraisal, you know, and you have your real estate agent, they show up and they notice that if your house is a project and it needs work, I mean, the buyer's literally just going to take the price of what that is and then remove it from the sale. So literally, if you're spending money on me and Matthew, you're really not actually spending any money. What you're doing is you're putting money into one bank into the other and to keep this bank from bleeding. Yep. And actually, if you do your job right, like him and I do, the money that you're paying us is actually worth more on your house and on your project than what it is sitting in another account.
Dude.
I'll paint a home in certain areas and it'll be X amount of $1,000. But after we're done with that project, it is worth more money on their house than what it was when they paid us.
On average, you see like a 2X.
Like having a golden touch, you know? Yeah.
Like what do you usually see? Like a 2X of investment or a 10X or like... I know it varies, but like what's average?
I would say probably whatever we charge for that project and probably at least on average 5 to 7% more. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, that's awesome. Dude, mind blown because when you said that was such a good line and that means you have a really good offer in these situations where you want to sell your house, but it needs a little facelift or some work or better appraisal, then go and hire Matthew, go and hire Phil, and it ends up not even costing you anything. No. It actually costs you more if you don't hire them.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? When you do that, it's an investment, sure, but it's been proven over and over and over and over that now when the appraisal goes up, it's actually worth that.
Yeah.
And then houses are still being sold. People are still buying houses.
Yeah, and you don't got to take our word for it. Talk to your real estate agents. Talk to home inspectors. Right, yep. Anybody who's involved, in that residential side of the business of moving property around. You make a good, responsible decision on who's working for you, and you should never lose that money.
Yeah.
And then Kansas City homes just look so good, Yeah. You can drive through a neighborhood and you can be like, oh, that one's been redone. Like you can tell, that one's modern. That one, like someone really did a good job on that one.
That one's falling down right now.
That's a Phil house, Yeah, that one's not falling down. Yeah. Does not look. I grew up in a crooked house.
Yeah.
When I first, 8 years of my life. And I remember, though, when we would sit at the dining room table, that if someone spilled, none of us got up except for my oldest brother because he was at the end of the table.
He was the one that got it.
Seriously, it was so crazy. It would spill all down towards him. If you put a marble on the table, it would go down to him,
Yeah, he's got past trauma from spills.
But now that house doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah. There's a reason.
Yeah. So, but it served its purpose for us. I think my dad bought it knowing he used to be an inspector, so surely he knew the risk or whatever. But for some reason, we took that risk and lived in there for a little bit of time, but then moved out. And I think he had to no one else would really want to invest in that, and so I'm not sure that we sold it for a good amount. I was so young, I don't really know. It'd be interesting to go back and ask my dad now, but which he was on this podcast once.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Hey,
hopefully he watches this podcast so he can just text you. Jared's dad text the answer to the
yeah, we
price
gotta know.
of that.
I want to know. It was actually Taylor Street, so my last name. Yeah, it was nice.
So there's a really good filter I want to talk about that all three of us are a part of. It's kind of a big deal.
Okay.
If you're looking for a good service provider, and you're like, hell, where do I find these people that do what they're supposed to do? We've all been a part of BNI. I know you're a part of Chamber of Commerce. And, anybody who has a business that's in a business networking group that's been around for a while, typically they're pretty reputable because these networking groups tend to weed out businesses that aren't the real McCoy.
That they don't want to trust.
Right. Yeah, that's part of our code of ethics. Networking groups.
Well, that's a good little shout.
Anyway,
yeah. And that's how we all met, really.
Yeah.
I met Phil 100%. There, and then I had to leave for different circumstances. It wasn't that it was a bad group or anything. It was a great group. But I'm here in Overland Park now, so the distance and everything.
Heartland BNI.
But yeah. So, anyways, Raymore. We all you're from Harrisonville. Mm-hmm. Where are you from?
Yeah, Peculiar.
So the great south of the Missouri side of Kansas City, and I guess I've moved to the Kansas side for business.
No.
But let's just face it, for what I do,
it makes sense.
It makes more sense, especially in this awesome studio. But guys, thank you so much for your time. Is there one last thing you want to add or at all? Did we cover something you feel that would bring value to a listener?
I just want to thank God for allowing us to do what we love.
Amen.
Appreciate you guys 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. So how can we follow you if someone's more interested? We said phone number, call Phil. We joked about that.
Call Phil.
But how do we actually learn that? Is it through your website?
Oh yeah, we have a website now. Yep, David Campbell made me a really nice website with an Digital Creative.
Yeah,
Campbell out of Harrisonville. The number's 913-579-0067. Call
Was
me
that your
anytime.
personal number?
Yeah, no, that's my
What's your
business
website?
line.
Okay, business line.
Yeah, well, website's Linstrom Pro Painters.
Okay, painters.
Yeah.
Linstrom
Linstrom Pro Painters.
Linstro. You know what? Links are in the description.
Yeah.
If you want to go
Why
to
do
his
you have
website.
an octopus on your shirt?
Oh,
Explain it.
It's a very sacred animal to me. The octopus is the only animal on the planet that can individually change all of its chromosomes.
Oh.
So it's like an alien.
Dude, I was like, an octopus gets the closest to an alien.
Yes, the closest thing that we have on the planet.
But it makes
Become an
sense because you do all these like paint jobs.
In every single one of its tentacles, it has a part of its brain.
I don't know what to do with my
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. Okay, what about you, Matthew? Do you have a direct link or anything? If someone...
I do. If someone wants a free inspection of their home to see how to actually fix it, they can text me or call me at 913-209-0443.
Well, that's awesome, guys. So we've learned a little more of more than meets the eye. I can't say more of right before it, but we got that from Transformers without realizing it. So now every time you hear the Transformers, I need you guys to think of more than meets the eye with the letter I, because we spelled JT Visuals without the I. Did you realize that?
Yes, we did.
Okay, awesome.
There's a reason.
And thank you guys for listening. I want to remind you to keep on doing the reps, make sure, and keep on keeping on.